He's going to have a long time to wait, but there are already at least 4 signs that George is ready for his future role as king. Thanks to William's careful hands-on induction of his son, George has slowly evolved from a rather shy-looking small boy into a more confident, responsible, but happily still joyful-looking 11-year-old who seems to be prepping for and embracing his future destiny with an impressive sense of calm. William's been his son's role model and wingman, and I think that's helped tremendously. He was the stabilizers on the bike in terms of hand holding George, little hair strokes, back pats, nudging him forward. But what we see more frequently now is that those stabilizers are coming off. William is more frequently stepping back and watching his son grow into his royal role all by himself now. So we've recently seen 4 key moments that show that George is prepped and ready to be king. The first one is what's called parental leapfrogging. Now, these are those moments that every parent knows when a child becomes old enough, smart enough, and confident enough to suddenly start acting a bit like the parent to its own father or mother. George's moment here came during the rehearsals for Charles's coronation. George was about to see his grandfather achieve his destiny, but also to witness firsthand exactly what his own destiny was going to look like. So a highly pressurized, very poignant, and quite an intimidating moment. So it could have been a very challenging experience, but George is all about the confidence here. We've seen him at the rehearsals. His chest is quite puffed. And in the photographs, his thumbs look cocked as though he's got a signal of enjoyment, a signal of confidence in his surroundings. And then in a conversation between adults, and very tall adults as well, he hears his father tell an official that he and his dad will be back again on Friday. And immediately George corrects his dad. We can hear his voice chime in without a pause and with a total lack of that kind of child adult shyness that you often get. And he corrects his dad. No, I'm here tomorrow. The establishing of new parameters, i.e. knowing better than your parent, even for a moment like that, is actually made to look very welcomed by William here, though. He agrees immediately with his son, and he uses a vocal tone that suggests he's talking to a third adult in the group. So already George is being treated as a grown-up by his own dad. The second example is seeing George in a responsible leadership role. At Kate's Christmas Carol service in Westminster Abbey, George might be seen walking with his siblings in what would have been the child's group, but his role now seems to have evolved to no longer be childlike. He's got an air of gravitas here that he retained throughout the entire concert, and he's clearly planning to keep an eye particularly on little Louis. This sense of responsibility and leadership is beginning to look very natural to him here. It's something that he will clearly need as he grows into and becomes the king later on. But it doesn't look forced here, and he receives his reward rather sweetly from his dad, William, who glances at him with a suppressed smile of pride, as though to say, well done. What's interesting about George's body language, though, is that he's no longer needing to keep checking in with his dad. He's taking this role off his own back. He doesn't keep throwing any anxious glances at his dad as though to say, what do you want me to do next? Or am I doing all right? So that natural sense of leadership is something that will stand him in such good stead in his future role as king. The third example are what are called his PDCs, and those are his public displays of confidence. George is often seen at football matches with his dad, and they're just having great fun. They're always, though, in a very visible spot, with thousands of fans watching, which could be daunting. Both William and his son have been known in the past for displaying quite shy body language, which they would need to overcome. Both George and William adore football, but these sporting events have given George the chance to grow his confidence and self-esteem, as well as get the chance to lose his inhibitions in public. This is very important. The big thing about an actor in particular is that they will be taught to lose their inhibitions so that they can relax and grow into that thespian confidence. And it will be very similar for George. He'll have to do so many big public duties, so many big public moments. And the more that he feels a lack of a sense of inhibition, the better he will be and the more he will be able to enjoy them. And we can see this growing here. George and William are perfectly mirrored in their body language rituals, like face holding in disbelief, hugging each other in celebration. And then those wonderful, what are called warrior rituals of jumping, punching the air, yelling, waving their fists about. And this bonds them with the public as well, because everybody in the audience, or at least one of the team's fans, will be doing a very similar display. So George is already beginning to get that large group bonding sense, as well as being able to shuck off any shyness or any overpowering anxiety about just trying to be too perfect all the time with his body language. The fourth thing is George's growing coaching role. On the balcony at this year's Trooping of the Colour, we can see a hierarchical shift as William delegates the care and coaching of his youngest son to George and to Charlotte. We can see Louis turn round to talk to his dad, and it's not William, it's George instinctively keeping an eye on Louis and then acting like the prefect, using a shushing and swatting gesture to get him to turn around and face front. He does it very seriously. He obviously takes that responsibility and that duty very seriously. And this looks as though it's normal behaviour from George too, because Louis obeys without any debate, while William keeps out of it. He just looks happy to delegate to his son with what looks like a strong degree of trust.